shall all burn together. Watch the flames climb high into the night, calling out Father, oh, stand by and we will watch the flames burn over and on the mountainside. And if we should die tonight, we should all die together. Raise a glass of wine for the last time, calling out Father, oh, prepare as we will watch the flames burn over and on the mountainside. Desolation comes upon the sky. Now I see fire inside the mountain. I see fire burning the trees. I see fire hollow souls. I see fire burning the breeze. I hope that you remember me. Desolation comes upon the sky. Now I see fire inside the mountain. I see fire burning the trees. I see fire hollow souls. I see fire burning the breeze. I hope that you remember me.
Halo. Assalamualaikum. Apa khabar semua? Anda kembali bersama dengan saya, AminHayat dalam AminHayat, the show flying high after crisis. Apa khabar semua? Hari ini, hari Isnin bersama dengan 1 November. Bercakap tentang bulan November ini kan. Ini adalah bulan kegemaran saya. Sebab apa? Sebab bulan ini adalah bulan kelahiran saya. Pada bulan ini, pada 7 hari bulan November ini, hari jadi saya lah. Bermakna saya akan menginjak secara official, secara rasminya berumur 40 tahun. Okey, sepanjang 40 tahun saya hidup di dalam dunia ni lah, pelbagai pancaroba, pelbagai dugaan. Ada berada di atas, ada berada di bawah, ada juga berada di tengah-tengah. Dan untuk makluman kepada anda, antara salah satu cabaran buat diri saya pada tahun 2015 yang lalu, kalau saya boleh kongsikan kepada anda, saya telah diuji dengan masalah kesihatan iaitu Alopesia Areata. Okey, hari ini Flying High After Crisis adalah edisi khas di mana ramai di luar sana yang message saya dapat message bertanyakan tentang Alopesia Areata, bagaimana nak merawatnya dan apakah puncanya sebenarnya, ya kan? Jadi hari ini saya membawakan kepada anda seorang panel iaitu kawan saya sendiri yang telah merawat saya selama lebih daripada 15 bulan. Terima kasih kepada Dr. Lim Ting Song daripada Clique Clinic yang telah merawat saya sehingga tengoklah rambut saya pun dah lebat. Okey, baiklah kepada anda yang mempunyai masalah alopecia areata ataupun botak. Mungkin ada yang salah anggap sebenarnya. Alopecia ni sebenarnya banyak jenis. Nanti kita akan kongsikan bersama dengan anda. Walau bagaimanapun, okey, kepada anda yang baru saja mengikuti saya, jangan lupa like, komen dan juga share perkongsian AminHayat Show dan juga Hi-Fi Asia ini kepada rakan-rakan anda, kepada mereka-mereka yang punya masalah botak dan sebagainya. Okey, sebelum kita bercakap dengan lebih lanjut dan memperkenalkan panel kita pada hari ini, jom sama-sama kita saksikan video ini.
Menurut pakar, platelet darah yang digunakan dalam PRP khusus untuk merawat kecederaan dan kerosakan pada tubuh badan. Antaranya masalah kulit muka, kecederaan pada tisu yang menghubungkan bahagian badan dan tulang dan masalah keguguran rambut.
It stimulates the hair follicles, okay, because there is growth factors in it. So the growth factors will stimulate the hair follicles and wake up the hair follicles which are in the sleep phase. So in the hair phase we have intelligent phase, anaphase phase. So we will activate the hair follicles through the wake up phase where it's regenerating and it's keep on growing, right? This will also stimulate blood vessels in the scalp.
Tambahnya, PRP membantu memberi nutrien kepada akar rambut, menjadikannya lebih kuat, sekaligus rambut tumbuh secara sihat. PRP disaran dilakukan sekali dalam sebulan dan boleh dibantu dengan rawatan secara oral atau shampoo dan cecair serum yang menggalakkan pertumbuhan rambut. Bagi masalah alopecia areata, rawatan steroid juga boleh digunakan bersama.
Itu dia antara sedikit sebanyak laporan Alopesia Areata pada tahun 2015 di berita TV9 yang telah saya bawakan sebelum ini. Jadi kepada anda yang ingin mengetahui dengan lebih lanjut dan mempunyai persoalan, boleh kemukakan pada hari ini. Sebab apa? Sebab panel kita akan menjawabnya. Sebab saya ni bukan pakar perubatan. Jadi kadang-kadang tersilap sedikit faktanya, bermakna salah lah segalanya. Tapi sebelum tu saya ingin bercakap dengan audience kita pada hari ini. Hai Jiwo, apa khabar? How are you? Hai adik Syahir, how are you? Terima kasih kerana bersama dengan AminHayat Show. Nur Arisha, good afternoon. Hussein Muhammad. Penny, hai. Apa khabar? Bila lagi kita nak pergi jogging? Sekho, apa khabar? Thank you very much for coming here. Okay, if you have a problem, alopecia problem ataupun botak, you can ask a lot of questions with our panel today. Akmal, thank you very much. Johadi, okay. Dan juga Jiwo. Okay, Jiwo ada cakap apa? Look like painful. Memang betul-betul sakit. Okey, baiklah, tanpa membuangkan masa, saya memperkenalkan kepada anda kita punya tetamu istimewa pada hari ini, iaitu teman baik saya sendiri, iaitu Dr. Lim Ting Song, Medical Director of Clique Clinic. Hai Doktor, apa khabar?
Hello, hi. Amin, happy birthday.
Not yet.
Right?
7.
Not yet.
7 November, this Sunday.
Okay, right.
Okay, so before we go to in depth what is my cause of the alopecia areata problem. Okay, probably people want to know what actually is alopecia? Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good question. Alopecia
Mhm.
is actually a medical terminology for hair loss.
Mhm.
So any kind of hair loss falls under alopecia. It could be a natural thing. As we age,
Mhm.
we lose the hair follicles. It's called alopecia. We normally say like, okay, because of male hormones, because of aging, you lose some hair. And of course, there are other factors like alopecia areata, which is basically due to autoimmune problems where some stress hormone or under certain stress, certain people actually develop some loss of hair follicles and patches of hair follicles, which generally becomes a hole. And
Mhm.
then we also see alopecia areata totalis, which they lose the whole hair on the scalp.
Mhm.
Some are reversible, and some are actually through time it becomes a permanent thing,
Oh, is
and
it?
that's why there are times that you don't have any more hair follicles to salvage, and then you have to look into hair transplantation.
I see. So, what actually the cause of alopecia? Is it because of genetic, or because of the food intake, or because of the lifestyle? Yeah.
I think it does. When you talk about alopecia, so when there's I'll separate into two big groups which we generally see.
Mhm.
So if you're talking about alopecia due to male hormones due to aging,
Yeah.
it is genetic. It not only happens in male, it also happens in females. And when you see that after a certain period of time, certain people they start to have the M sign, or they start to
Oh, this
have
one.
like
This M size.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and you start to have the losing hair on the back. So
Mhm.
these are due to, we know that it's due to male hormones, but and then it also linked back to lifestyle. So genetic plays a part, and we know that if you have close family members that tends to lose their hair much earlier,
Mhm.
and you might have that risk. And but if your lifestyle on top of the genetics means you don't sleep well, you kind of put a lot of stress on your body, I think you might see hair loss much faster. So there are those who we have seen nowadays, if their lifestyle is really, really hectic,
Mhm.
they might actually start losing hair from early 20s. And before you know it, when they hit 30s, they don't have much hair on their scalp anymore.
Mhm.
So lifestyle play a part, including if they are actually not taking enough nutrients for the hair to grow, so they might actually have that issue. So now we look at the different another group where they still have lots of hair, but they lose uh, patches of hair in certain areas. This is called areata. This is called alopecia areata.
Mhm.
It happens to some individuals, and it does run in certain families as well. If your parents or some of your family members does, after certain stress, they start to see these patches of holes on their hair, on their
Mhm.
scalp, and you probably have higher chances of getting it as well. So what happened is with stress hormone, with stress, your immune system sort of get activated in certain ways that it starts to attack some of the hair follicles, and you start to see these patches. Either they turn white or they actually lose hair, and then you can slowly see that this area started to have no hair growth as the hair sort of drop off, and then
Mhm.
what will happen is you start to see a hole on the hair. And if certain people actually got into a more severe condition where you actually lose the whole
The whole
scalp.
hand, like me lah last time. Yeah,
Right.
but I start from patches, small patches like five
Right.
cents, and then getting bigger to 10 cents, 50 cents, and then getting back
Yeah.
like a map, world map. So I
Right.
think yeah. So probably a lot of people ask me actually, is it alopecia areata, is it dangerous? Is it life threatening?
It is not. Basically, it's sorry, it's your body telling you that you're undergoing certain stress, and it's a body's reaction. Maybe it's like a warning sign to tell you that it's about time to rest your body, but it's not life threatening. Doesn't mean that once you have that patch, it will turn into something lethal. So lots of times people do more stressful when they see it, so it can trigger more stress and then trigger to a vicious cycle. So if you do have that, don't worry. So calm yourself down. Seek a professional help. Most of the time, we have medications to help to slow down and actually reverse the whole process. I think that is what we need to do. And if you actually get treated much earlier, I think you get to reverse the whole process much faster. So if you start to have certain signs, I think it's good to seek help immediately.
Talking about the treatment, there's a traditional way saying that using garlic just to
Right.
put on the spot. Is it work?
Right. I think, well, there are a lot of methods people talk about, but frankly speaking, how effective it is, we don't know. Because most of the time, even if you don't do anything, sometimes it gets better on its own, right?
I see.
So, but if it gets very severe, I think it's better to take certain actions. And I think putting garlic or like applying certain creams or tonic would be something that takes a slower path. There are faster ways that we can do, for instance, using UV rays, using steroid cream, steroid injections, PRP, certain ways that we can regulate the immune response and inflammation over those areas so that it can normalize much sooner.
I see. Talking about the steroids, most of people. I didn't say that most of the gym people taking steroids.
Right.
Some of them are taking steroids to just, boost up their muscle and everything. Is it can cause of this alopecia areata problem?
Yeah, if you're trying to use like external substances, we have seen people when they actually start using steroids or testosterone injections or taking a huge amount of protein powders. What happens that you see they start to have lots and lots of acne on the body and face.
Yes.
They start losing hair. A lot of people actually lose hair when they actually stress their body very much. And we know that testosterone and the reason why we use steroids is basically to boost up the male hormones at the same time. And then when you do that, you can also sort of expedite the process of losing what we call a male pattern hair loss. But at the same time, because of the stress to the body, I think that could also trigger alopecia areata if you do so.
I see. We have a comment from our viewers. Alia Shamila said teenagers are also start to lose hair nowadays. I think because of the lifestyle, because of the fast food. I think, but some
Right.
of there's a people. Parents text me. Some of the kids also have this kind of problems. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Alopecia areata we see a lot among kids as well. When they are stressed in certain ways, you do develop areata, this alopecia areata, even when they are very young age. In fact, we do see them more with kids rather than adults, but probably it's easier for adults to hide it. And kids are generally they kind of like, oh, this is
Just
something
botak.
that is yeah. So in a way, I think so. What we generally look into is like when we see that, it's a sign of stress that induce some inflammation in the body that leads to that as well.
So actually, what actually your advice to parents who has kids who have this kind of issue?
So I think it's good to kind of discuss with them because there's a lot of different beliefs. I mean, there are beliefs that some people think that they kena jump bigger, or they have, in fact, in Chinese belief, they also they call it like the ghost actually sort of eat out some of the hair there. So I think there are certain beliefs which I think we should not encourage kids to believe in that. But it is one thing that we need to kind of sort of take actions to kind of rectify it. So first is encouragement, saying that this is probably the body's response to certain stress or inflammation. Nothing to be worried about. I think a lot of people will get very anxious because they think that they will botak forever again, and then especially little kids, because if they go out to classrooms and stuff, the other kids will generally make fun or really point it out and say that this is or some other parents will think that because you have hygiene issues, that this is don't play with my kids and stuff. But what we really need to educate is that this is just a body's response. It does go away after a while. The new hair will grow out from that particular area. There are ways that you can actually reduce that by applying certain creams on top, or even go for certain injections on top of the scalp. Just now I saw someone ask about, is it painful for the injections? Well, I'd say it's not the most comfortable treatment, right? But
it is really painful for me.
yeah.
I remember it's more than 100 per injection on my head.
Because basically you have the whole head that we have to inject. But I think so basically, if you do have only a small spots, it's only a few injections. And nowadays with the newer needles, so unfortunately that time, I think for your case, there wasn't any smaller needles. Now there are even finer needles to use.
It is a finer, very, very small.
Yeah. So it's becoming more and more comfortable. But then again, having a needle poke through the scalp is not the most fun thing that anybody wants to have. But it is one of the ways to try to sort of heal it much faster and reduce the chances of having long-term sort of hair loss on those areas.
Okay, let's see the audience comment. Hi, okay, we have a comment from Dato' Lai. Hi, how are you, Dato' Lai? Okay, kita pun ada cakap, kita pun, bro, Fuad, apa khabar? Fuad is actually from Singapore. I mean, he's a gym bodybuilder.
Hello. Wow. Okay. Fantastic.
So we have a question from Hussein. Is getting enough of sleep help? Does it help?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, right? Why the body becomes stressed is when you do not rest enough. So you realize, right? A lot of people, when they actually stay up late at night and then they don't sleep well, their body function drops. And then one of the things that we also see these days, that why a lot of younger teenager or even younger adults are starting to lose more hair these days, I think is the amount of sleep. Sleeping is where the body tries to heal themselves and trying to reduce the inflammation in the body. And if you do not get enough rest, what happens is, of course, the body will feel that stress, and then it will actually translate into a lot of different things, like dark eye circles, you start to lose hair. If it's too stressful, and you do have chances of getting the alopecia areata as well.
I see, betul. We have to manage our stress because this is based on my experience, because last time I lack of sleep, and then my lifestyle is really haywire a bit. So I think it's a cause of the alopecia problem. So probably because people compare alopecia areata and cancer. So probably you can jelaskan sedikit what is the difference between cancer and alopecia areata. Is it similar?
It's totally different thing. Cancer itself is actually a growth of tissues which is not under control and it can cost life. And what we see with cancer is that it generally happens in the internal organs or it could happen in the skin, but it won't actually give you hair loss. Why we see a lot of cancer patient has hair loss is because of their chemotherapy.
It's medication.
Chemotherapy is to try to, yeah, it's a medication that we use to kill, try to kill these tumor cells or cancer cells, so that we can actually deroot this specific cell from growing into abundance. And while doing that, we also kill some normal cells, including hair cells as well. And one of the reasons why we see people also drop a lot of hair during that time is also the amount of stress the body is undergoing when they do chemotherapy. Whereas this alopecia areata or alopecia itself is a more kind of like a slow progressing hair loss, and it has nothing to do with cancer, and that's not basically a sign of cancer or basically something that is even close to cancer at all.
So hopefully jawapan ini boleh clearkan pada semua orang bahawa alopecia areata ini bukan, is not a cancer problem. So jangan salah fakta, jangan salah anggap. Okay, alopecia areata is bukan sebahagian daripada cancer. Okay, we have a question daripada Datuk Lai. Okay, will heavy running exercise affect our hair growth?
Well, heavy running exercise, right? I think for me, exercise actually promotes circulation on the body, and it actually can promote circulation on the scalp. And sometimes there are also certain groups of people that believes that if you massage your scalp enough, it also helps in terms of hair growth as well. But I think if someone is over exercising, for instance, they are running marathon every day, and then they are doing certain things that is over stressing the body, then it could lead to alopecia areata because,
seriously?
like I say, it's all about stress. The more when you
so if too much of workout, I mean, even though workout is a healthy lifestyle, but it can cause alopecia areata if too much. Is it?
Yeah, if you are stressing the body too much, and you're not getting enough rest in between, then you can actually trigger some of the body reaction towards it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I think people will think that, okay, why don't exercise at all? Well, if you don't exercise, in fact, that also can accumulate some inflammation in the body as well. So I think the keyword is sederhana.
Yeah, moderate. I think sederhana to moderate is very important. Right. Okay, we have questions from Ali. Is there any medication intake can cure this issue?
So yes, a lot of times when we have this kind of inflammation in the body, there are some anti-inflammatory medications. If we take it orally, it's generally towards the whole body. So sometimes you want to be more specific. So what we do is we generally apply creams on those areas or inject into those areas that is more sort of more targeted. But if you're talking about a broad spectrum of hair loss, right, in terms of alopecia, there are certain supplements that we see that helps in terms of promoting hair growth and maintaining the hair quality, which is like biotin vitamin. It's a derivative of vitamin B. And then also, if you do have a bit of hormonal issues, you have to look into how you want to kind of calm things down. So those are things that you can do with medications. But I would suggest if you do have alopecia areata, it's good to see a doctor and see what is the most suitable treatment for you.
That's true. That's true. I think if you have alopecia areata like my problem last time, you need to get the expert to give advice. Yeah, that's more important rather than we just go to the Google, go to the Facebook.
Yeah,
What actually? Yeah. Because nowadays
yeah.
people, it's just a matter of
Self-medicate.
yeah, it's true. Okay, we have a question from Fuad. Fuad, in some cases, obesity may affect hair loss or alopecia. Is that true?
In fact, we know that fat cells, if you accumulate into certain amount, it is what we call a lipotoxicity,
Mm.
which means there's more inflammation in the body. That's why one of the things that we always say, obesity is also one of the reasons why a lot of people go into chronic diseases like
Mm.
high blood pressure, like they have blood clots, they have stroke, they easily get stroke, they easily get heart diseases. So that's why we think that it's important that we have to kind of eat a healthier lifestyle and exercise just to kind of reduce those risks. And
Mm.
one of the sort of problem when you actually start having too much of fat cells, when you have too much inflammation, yeah, it can induce a lot of things. One of it is hair loss, and the other thing, it can trigger your immune system to go a bit haywire, and that could also lead to alopecia areata.
Okay. Okay, doctor, talking about the treatment, I mean, a lot of people ask me about
All right.
how much is the treatment going to be. So probably you can
Okay.
share. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Generally, I think to see hair loss treatments, you really have to, it's not just one or two times.
Hmm.
I would think that generally for hair treatments, you need about 6 to 8 times, and then you only see the results after a certain period of treatments. It's not like happening right immediately.
Hmm.
But of course, there are people who started to see some improvements after the first or second treatments. But generally, it takes some time before your hair follicles start to grow back, start to have the hair becomes longer, and then eventually become normal again. It generally takes about 6 months or so. So I would say that to justify whether this treatment works or doesn't work, you need about 6 months time.
Six
And the
months
cost
time.
for
Wow.
it, yeah.
Mm.
So the cost for it, right? Let's say for PRP, I think most people will spend about 8,000 for 8 times of treatments.
Hmm.
So it's not the cheapest treatment, but that is one of the things that you can do. If it's only steroid injection, it can cost about probably 120 per time. Or if you're using cream, it's cheaper. And of course, medication, if you want to use supplements, they are generally within like 100 plus and minus. So those are
Yes.
things that you can look into. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so probably, yeah, I think there's a lot of things actually we want to discuss, but I think it's because of the time frame.
Right.
But before we wrap up, any advice to people who actually have this kind of problem? What actually the first thing they need to do? Uh,
Right. I think the first thing is to stay calm and don't panic. And I think it's good to kind of look for to seek for professional help. A lot of people self-medicate because it's a very people feel very shy to
mhm.
look for help because they think this is something that they try to kind of cover up and try to find ways on their own first before going into getting a lot of treatments. I think it's more than just go ahead and seek for professional help. I think there's two things that's important. The right therapy is important
Mhm.
according to how severe the case is. Secondly, is also getting a little bit of mental support or psychosocial support in that sense that talking about how to de-stress the body and mind. I think that's equally important.
I see. I see. Okay. So basically, probably you can tell where actually your clinic so people can go or any
Okay.
contacts. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So, well, we have two centers, one in PJ, near SS2. It's actually in section 19 near Puitai School. And then the other center is at KL Eco City, next to the gardens in Mid Valley. So the clinic is called Clique, CILQUE. If you want to look up into what we do in our clinic, you can go to www.cliqueclinic.com. It's CLIQUE.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lim Ting Song from Clique Clinic. Okay, thank you very much for your
so
advice, for information. Anyway, stay safe and stay healthy. So keep in touch, yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you so much for the invitation. Great to see you
All
again.
right. See you again.
Well,
Bye.
happy early birthday.
Thank you. You need to
Okay.
treat me a drink.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Okey, itu dia antara perkongsian daripada Dr. Lim Ting Song, Medical Director of Clique Clinic yang telah merawat Alopesia Areata problem saya. Lihatlah rambut saya dah kembali pulih. Terima kasih Clique Clinic yang telah tidak putus-putus kira merawat saya selama lebih daripada 15 bulan. Kepada anda yang mempunyai masalah Alopesia Areata seperti mana yang kita katakan tadi, dia bukan kanser, jadi perlu manage your stress, perlu urus stres anda supaya tidak mengalami masalah sedemikian. Okey, baiklah, pada minggu depan saya akan berehat seketika sebab apa? Sebab birthday saya kan. Minggu depan tak ada AminHayat show, jadi insyaAllah ada minggu kemudian saya akan kembali bersama dengan anda setiap hari Isnin jam 1 tengah hari. Assalamualaikum dan sampai jumpa. Terima kasih. Bye-bye.